welcome back to my channel Because I'm Crafty. My name is Caitlin and I'm here with another sewing machine tutorial. So in one of my last videos we went over threading your machine. So we went through the top thread, the bobbin, and how to wind a bobbin. So now that we know how to put our machine together, we're going to go through some of the stitches that it offers. Most of these are pretty basic and most machines should offer this, so let's get into it. So this dial here indicates my stitches. The first one is a straight stitch and I can adjust the length with the length dial that's on the side. And then we've got 5 options for zigzags. Now the one thing I will say about this machine that I don't like is that these zigzags are preset. So we've got the sizes kind of already adjusted here. We've got a 4-step buttonhole option here. So the first one, it's got a number 1 with an arrow pointing down. So that's going to go down the left side of your buttonhole. And then you turn it to the number 2, it's going to go back and forth to finish off the one end. You turn it to 3, you'll go back up the right side, and then you go to number 4 and it'll finish off the other end. So this has got one buttonhole setting. It's just a rectangle shaped buttonhole and you just attach your buttonhole foot and use that setting. Then we've got over here, we've got a blind hem. I use this for dress pants or stuff like that because a blind stitch machine is really expensive and a little tricky to use, so I use that as kind of a cheat way to go about it. This stitch is like a 3-step zigzag, so we've got stitches in between our zigzags, so it's not just back and forth with one stitch, it's straight stitches in between making the zigzag shape, if that makes sense. And these red ones are kind of like for darning and repairs. So we've got one that goes straight down, off to the right, straight down, off to the right. It's kind of hard to see there. And the other one is 3 straight stitches all in a line beside each other. So I don't really use those stitches. I pretty much only use this machine for straight stitch and buttonholes for these zigzag stitches. So I'm going to turn it back to our straight stitch. So coming to our machine, let's go through some of our stitches. I've got my length set to 3 and I'm just going to go ahead and do some straight stitches. So I didn't do a back stitch there, but I'm going to on my next one. And I'm also going to change my stitch length to a 4, which is the largest that my machine will do. Now above the 3, I'm going to go to a 2. And then above the 2, I'm going to change my stitch length to a 1. So as you can see here with my stitches, this top green one is a 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that number 1 stitch there is very tiny, extremely hard to get it with the seam ripper, very frustrating. I would not sew that on anything, any regular garment that you're making. I would really stick with this third one down here. I would use this number 4 for gather stitches or basting. And number 2 I would probably use for something like a patch repair or hole repair if need be. So I'm going to go over to my small zigzag and show you how that one looks. This is crazy. I think I just realized something. And the largest one. So something that I'm noticing about my zigzag stitches, other than the fact that it's skipped, is that they look a lot closer together, which is much different than they looked 10 minutes ago when I just tested on a different scrap. And the only thing that's different is I looked at my dial and it is still set on a 1 from when I tested the straight stitch. Normally I would set my length to a 3, that's what I normally do, but since these zigzags have a preset size on my dial, I always left my length dial the same as I would for my normal straight stitch. And so I'm realizing now that I think my length dial is working as a width dial for my zigzag when I have my stitch selected on a zigzag. Because before, if I have my length set to a 3, my zigzags are very wide. And I'll show you with this example here. These zigzags are way far apart, and that's the largest one that they offer. And if I look at this one, it's much closer together. This right here looks like a wobbly straight stitch. That was the smallest one, which is right here. Go back to this one. These are my next kind of medium-sized ones. And I come back here and they look completely different. I never noticed this about my machine before, so I'm going to do a little bit more testing, see what I can do with my length dial, because I think that's working as a width for my zigzag. So I'm going to keep my zigzag on the biggest one that's offered on my dial, and I'm going to change my length to a 2 and see what happens. Now I'm going to put it on a 3. Still skipping stitches a bit, but I'll have to change my needle, and to a 4. So if we take a look back at our zigzags now, they look completely different with different lengths on the dial. I always thought this machine was preset, so as I'm making this video, I'm learning something about this machine, and I've had it a while, and I've tried many times to make my zigzag look different from this because I find it looks very wide, and I wanted it to look like this, and now I've figured out how to make it look like that. So other than the skipping, which is usually just a needle issue, my zigzags look amazing, so that's really great. So the other stitches that are offered on this machine are the buttonhole stitches and the blind hem. I have ordered a special foot to use with the blind hem, so I'm not going to talk about that one today. I'm going to make a separate video about that, and I'm also going to make a different video about the buttonhole. They're very basic stitches that you should look for when buying a machine. If your machine is only a straight stitch, it is useful. It's better than no machine, but I would really recommend looking for one that also has a zigzag. And especially if you're able to adjust the width and the length of the zigzag, if you have 2 dials for that, that's definitely something that I would look for in a machine as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, learned about straight stitches and zigzags. I learned something new. I didn't know I could do that with my machine, and I've tested with this machine a lot. I've used it for years, and I've always just gone to a different machine to do my zigzags because for the life of me I could not figure out why my zigzag was not working. I always assumed that the zigzag was preset to what the dial offered. We have a machine like that at work, and that's just how it is. It doesn't have a length dial on it, and it also has like 4 or 5 different options for a straight stitch that are also preset. So I basically figured that this machine was the same and that it only offered the length for the straight stitch. So now learning that I can change the width of my zigzag is really awesome, and I'll probably use this more for zigzag stitches when I need it, most likely when I make lingerie and do patches and things like that. So this is really exciting. I'm glad I made this video and learned something new about this machine. This is really awesome. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. It was certainly helpful to me. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you next time, crafters. Bye!